Welcome to our Searchfunder session on using HubSpot for entrepreneurs for your search and acquisition. Our special guests are Kelsey Gernert, who is the head of growth and partnerships for the go-to-market partnerships team with HubSpot, and then Magdalene Small, who is head of partnerships for the Southwest for HubSpot. Searchfunder is the online community for folks seeking to search for and acquire and operate a small to medium-sized business. We've embarked on a number of partnerships recently. We have a partnership with Ibis World Report for our searcher. That means that this invaluable trove of data is available to our searchers as part of their Searchfunder membership. We also have a partnership with BVR Deal Stats. Now we have a partnership with HubSpot and are part of their HubSpot for Entrepreneurs program. What that means is that as a searcher, you receive a discount on HubSpot just by virtue of being a Searchfunder member. In this session, Kelsey and Magdalene answer your questions about using the free and paid subscription versions of HubSpot and how they can be effective for your search. We look forward to being able to announce additional partnerships like this that will make your search much more effective, efficient, and affordable.
And I would just love to start this with, I love our sessions to be as engaging as possible. So feel free to chat in. We will be managing the chat. At the end, we'll have plenty of time for Q&A, so we can jump in. We'll answer as much live as we can. Some things we might save for the end. But if you're here for this session, we want to talk about using tools to supercharge your search. There are a lot of different things that you can use HubSpot tools for, but we're going to talk about how you use this kind of early on in the process, but also how you can grow with our tools. And I want to, Karen's done a great job of introducing me. I also want to add on, Magdalene Small is with us today. So she is our head of Southwest partnerships for HubSpot for startups. Magdalene, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. As Kelsey mentioned, I'm one of her teammates. I manage HubSpot for startups and entrepreneurship partnerships out here in the Southwest.
I also want to share with you an agenda. So we already talked through introductions, check that one off. But what we're going to go through are some tools to help you connect with investors, how to track your investor pipeline, a little bit about how do you stand out from the crowd. I mean, it's been hard enough to connect with investors. Searchfunder certainly makes this a whole lot easier. But with COVID being fully virtual, working with Searchfunder, how is it that you differentiate yourself? So we're going to talk about some HubSpot non-HubSpot tools to do that. And then we're going to talk a bit about reports and automation. How do you show that initial traction to make yourself really attractive to investors? And also, how do you keep them updated and in the loop to continue to differentiate yourself? Then we're going to jump into a little bit about this awesome partnership that Searchfunder has negotiated for you, and some great discounts, scholarships, resources that they have made available to you. And we'll talk a little bit about demo experience and launch into some more questions. So that's where we are going to start it off. We are going to come back to this at the end, but again, this presentation is brought to you by Searchfunder in partnership with our program, HubSpot for Entrepreneurs. We're really excited to be able to work together with you and hopefully supercharge your search. But let's kind of get into a little bit of high level about what HubSpot is if you are not already familiar. So first of all, HubSpot is a free CRM, and we have a sales, marketing, and service hub built on top of that with 600 integrations. So it's kind of your one-stop shop for your business. If you take kind of the core competencies of, let's say, Salesforce, Marketo, Calendly, Zendesk, MailChimp, and roll them all together, add a few things, that's essentially what we are. But let's talk a little bit about what that journey is like. I want you to see the big picture, and then we're going to zoom into what is most relevant for you as a searcher right now. So HubSpot is meant to be your full suite of tools to take your customers from being strangers that are maybe just visiting you on the website, all the way through to being prospects, to being your customers, and then also being able to grow them into being your promoters. An unhappy customer tells 10 people, and a happy customer tells 3. So the most effective source of you being able to gain more customers is making the current customers you have happy. So we think about this as a flywheel. So how can you make sure that all of these pieces are connected? A lot of us have had different careers in life, but I know when I was in a sales seat, as sales, you get these leads from marketing and then be like, well, why is this a highly qualified lead? What is it that made them qualified to be here? I don't know how to reach out because I don't know what the trigger was. And then on the sales side as well, you are interacting with somebody in sales and you don't realize that they are already currently a customer and having a customer service issue that you don't know about. Or marketing is reaching out to somebody and they are not realizing that there's a customer service issue going on. And this creates a lot of friction in the user experience. So what I think is the real benefit of HubSpot is bringing all of those systems into one, having one source of truth, one source of information to be able to get a full picture of every prospect, every customer, every investor that you're working with. You want to, this is for when you are building it out into your larger organization, but also as a searcher, you want to know that when you have your co-founder or you have somebody on your team reaching out to this person, that they know your background with them. They know where that conversation left off. They know if they're talking to somebody that was a potential investor versus a customer. All those little pieces are part of what it is really important to make sure that you have a great customer, investor, partner experience. Now, the HubSpot platform has a lot of different pieces to it that all work together. You can use these as building blocks. So a lot of people might start with us on our sales tools and then later on add on marketing tools, and then maybe once they have more customers, add on service. So you can kind of build this however you want. On this page here, you can see about our CRM platform. So we're going to jump into this. This is a key part of your investor outreach, is being able to start recording these conversations to organize yourself. And the CRM is free. There's no reason not to do this and not to have ways to create more efficiency, because right now you might be balancing not only working on funding your business, but working on your business. So you need to make sure that your time is best allocated on the things that only you can do, not on searching through your emails to figure out what your last point of contact was. We also have a full website builder with some great tools to be able to help you create a great website, to be able to optimize your website, and to be able to manage your team at scale. And then when it comes to your marketing resources, we have these kind of bucketed into how do you bring people to your website. A lot of us create our website and just have this idea that if you build it, they will come, which works sometimes, but often not. So you need to have a strategy for how to attract people to your website, but also convert them once they're there. If you have blog posts, if you have forms, if you have chats, how do you make sure you know who's coming to your website, collect their information so that you can nurture them and be able to get some great reports that you can action on to be able to, one, show your early traction. If you are early into market and you need to be able to show that there is interest in your product, that you have a great base of potential customers, this reporting is really necessary. And then being able to jump into sales, making sure that once they are in your nurture funnel, once you're reaching out to them, how do you actually convert them? How do you make sure that you are doing this in a rapid fashion? Because we know 30 to 50% of deals go to whoever responds first. And I know as an entrepreneur, when I started, that was sometimes really frustrating to me because I wanted to be like, hey, you don't know that I'm wearing 50 hats. Please just give me a minute to respond. But that's not how other people think of you. They want everything now. So you have to make sure that you can have as frictionless a process as possible to be able to manage those relationships. And then kind of getting to the end of that flywheel, when we talk about service, once you have those customers in, so this is more for our B2C, but also B2B, depending on the volume of customers that you are dealing with. How do you make sure that you track any concerns that are going on? They get routed to the right person, so that way they're dealt with efficiently before they start, pinging you publicly on Twitter, and make sure that they are having a great experience that they're going to tell everybody else about. So that is kind of the suite of resources, but we're going to chat a little bit about how this applies to you directly. Now, to tell you kind of two more resources before we jump into to an example, I also want to share with you that there are a lot of resources to help you, whether you are just starting out with HubSpot or if you are currently a customer. So we have a great community. Even when I don't know some questions about HubSpot, I can Google it and get an answer 99% of the time. We have some great knowledge base articles, but I also really want to highlight the Academy. If you are trying to figure out that you're now wearing a lot of hats, or maybe you have run a company before, but you want to brush up on some new best practices, you can jump in here, learn about inbound marketing. How do you attract people to you to be able to convert better? You can do sessions on SEO, setting up your sales, marketing, whatever you want to. These are free. And also, once you are on as a customer, so you have access to the community resources in the free. But once you're on as a customer, you can speak 24/7 to a live representative that works full-time for HubSpot and be able to either chat in, call in, email in, whatever it is that works best for you to help you troubleshoot so you can get up and running. And the next piece that I want to add to that is, as part of our software, you also get onboarding. So it's not just going to be you purchasing it and then being like, oh, I got to figure out how to do it. Somebody can actually work with you to be able to help you get set up and make sure you're making the most of your services. So that's a whole lot of preamble. We probably want to jump into the tools right now. So Karen, if you don't mind me using you as an example in Gmail, I'll jump into that. So we have integrations with both Gmail and Outlook. I want to start by saying that a great deal of our resources are free, and these first resources I'm going to be showing you are all in the free package. These are things that you want to be thinking about of how do I make my investor outreach more professional, more streamlined, more timely, and more efficient. So those are the tools that we're going to hone in on. So if I use Karen as a gracious example, when she emails in, the first time she emails in, it already creates a contact record for her in my HubSpot instance. It will be able to pull up first, last name, her job title, email, phone number. And then I can also see, when we talk about seeing that full picture, are there any deals that I have going on with her? So let's say Karen was a potential investor. This I could see, is she somewhere in this investor pipeline? And I can also set tasks. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But I love this feature. When you're wearing a lot of hats, it's hard to be able to stay on top of everything. So let's say Karen emails me and says, hey, that's great. Reach out to me again in a week if I haven't gotten back to you. So I can quickly create a task from in here with a due date, say what it is, and then it will send me a reminder to be able to reach out to her so I can look really on top of things. When, let's say when Karen becomes a customer, I'm also able to see any tickets or any complaints or anything that might be going on. So that way I just see the full picture of what Karen's experience is. Now, when I am using our email feature, so you can do this both within HubSpot or within Gmail, Outlook, there's a series of things that you can use. So I know that you're not necessarily in a sales role, but this stat really stood out to me, that 70% of the time that a person in sales spends is on admin work. is on these just like extra little things that they are doing. And I would argue that when you are pursuing investment, you're kind of like the salesperson. You're selling your company, you're selling the idea of your company. So if you can cut down on that 70%, even by, let's say, 30%, and be able to automate that or use tools, that's essentially like hiring a second person to go after investors. So some of the things that you can use are things like templates. When you are reaching out to your investors, it does have to be personalized. It does have to be, you want to be able to speak to, hey, you made X type of investment. I think you'd also be interested in me. Here's why. But I would also argue that about 70% of those emails are the same thing, and there's 30% that you are personalizing. So make the best of that time. So let's say I want to drop in an email. I can pick from any one of my templates and be able to say, okay, it automatically put in Karen's name from her contact record. It could automatically put in the company, where she's from, any of the properties that I create. I can add some personalization and send this off. The other thing that I can do in here is, let's say there are pieces of information that I'm regularly find myself repeating. Maybe it's your bio, maybe it's your quick value proposition, and you don't want to spend time searching through, grabbing this from Word docs. You just want to be able to click in and share this. So that's through the use of snippets. I can say, okay, if I just click on the snippet, it will drop in whatever it is I need. And I sometimes use this for when I'm preparing calls. So let's say I'm meeting with an investor and I have a set list of questions that I like to go through or things I want to answer. I can have that template ready to go. And we're going to talk a little bit later about documents. This is a really important feature. We're also going to talk a bit about meetings and be able to talk about sequences. So these are all the things that can make you a bit more efficient in your role. Now, it's pretty easy from when I am seeing Karen in here to be able to see her in the CRM. So I am able to just click here and it's going to open her up in HubSpot. So that way I can see the full record of my interactions with Karen. Now, I'm able to see her full information, but just based on what her email is, it's going to filter her up to a company. And I'm actually going to switch just so I can save some of Karen's personal information and not share this with the whole world. I'm going to give you an example from within our program. So based on what that email is that comes in, you're able to link them to a company, and it's going to automatically set this up for you. This way you can organize, maybe you've reached out to more than one investor at the same at the same company or the same VC. You're able to see, click in and say, okay, with this org, this has been all of my interactions. These are all of the contacts that I have here, and this is every interaction that I've had with them. And then on the individual level, you want to be able to select to save information that you need. So being able to say, what type of investor are they? Maybe you want to categorize by angel investors or VC investors, et cetera. So that way you can segment, and you can also see what they've done on your website. How many times have they been to your page? How many pages have they viewed if you have this up and running? This is a really good resource to be able to show you how high is the intent of this investor. Some other things that can show you intent is the email tracking. So I'm able to see in here that I've sent it, but also it looks like email tracking wasn't turned on for this one, but I'm also able to see whether or not they read the emails I sent. This, I would say, is a vital tool, because the way that you follow up with an investor when you sent them an email and you haven't heard back is very different if you see that they've never opened it versus they've opened it 15 times, but just not responded. Then, they probably shared it with other people at their company. They've maybe shared it with friends. They're really considering this. So you want to make sure that your outreach is smart. And then you're also able to record all of your notes in here. So what is it that you were talking about in your meeting? And maybe you want to, maybe you have a CFO, or maybe you have a co-founder that you want to loop in. You can just do an @ mention and say, okay, hey, Jenny, by the way, this was the conversation, and Jenny's going to be aware, so that way she can see it. These are the things that are taking that 70% of time of saying, oh, Jenny, did you see this message? Were you logged in? Just streamline your operations. You can also set tasks here. So let's say that I was talking with Karen. She's a potential investor, and she says, look, can you please send me over this document? I can set a task here, but I can also assign that task to somebody else if there's somebody else on my team that I would like to be a part of it. So I'm also able to, so we're going to jump into the deal pipeline. I'm going to show you how you can start being able to track some of those engagements. I'm going to pause there for a minute and see, do we have any questions? Is this making sense when it comes to investor outreach? And Magdalene, is there anything that you'd want to add?
I think my only add would be is if you can go to the all filters and just click onto the activity. Yeah, and just click on filter activity just to kind of showcase. If you guys see here, as Kelsey mentioned on the outset, not only are we a growth platform, we also natively integrate with over 600 integrations. So as you're thinking about using HubSpot for both your investor relations and your core business processes, keep in mind the idea of our platform is to be able to have a really 360-degree source view, source of truth, and source of record for your business. So as you start to use other softwares to do things like run webinars, do things like run ads, things like that, we want to get and keep all that info in HubSpot. So it's really, really easy for you to see everything as it pertains to any communication that your business is having, whether that's with an investor, whether that's with a prospect, a customer, it's all here.
Thank you. And go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, and I think Karen just direct messaged me, and I think she hit the nail on the head. And as we are proceeding with, with Kelsey's demo flow here, you can definitely leverage HubSpot for investor communication and your traditional sales prospecting, sales customer outreach. I think one of the nice and powerful things about HubSpot is you can really use it for both things. We're actually going to show you some examples of how we use HubSpot to track our internal team KPIs, things that aren't necessarily that sales focused, and how our sales team uses HubSpot to track things that are very traditionally sales focused, which is a traditional sales deal pipeline. So you can think about this as being used for really kind of any type of communication, any type of outreach, whether that's investing outreach or whether you're prospecting. Cool. Kelsey, I'll turn it back to you. And Scott, I will take a crack at your question in the chat and I might jump in.
Perfect. And Scott will also show you some of our deals dashboards. You can see what that looks like. And one of the things that I wanted to zoom in on a tool. So when I'm in sales, which I think is the same way when you're thinking about investor outreach, you want to minimize the friction as much as possible. Make it as easy as possible for them to find any information about you. Make sure that you are highlighting the right information and that you're making it as easy as possible to meet with you. Because every single thing is an ask. Every time you go back and forth and say, oh, are you free then? No, I'm not. Can we do this? Those things are all taking busy investor time. You want to make this easy. So we also have our meetings tool, and this is also in the free. So this is, if you use Calendly, this is like Calendly. I'm able to set up a meeting for however long I want. It's going to sync automatically to my calendar. I'm able to set what is my availability, how much notice do I need if you want to be able to prepare, and be able to have some questions for people that are able to get set up. So when they click in, it would just be being able to, when you're in your outreach, being able to send them a meeting link to sign up for you. Think about all the tools that you can use to remove friction and make it easy. So we talked a little bit about tasks. I just wanted to show you what this looks like within here and also why I think this is important. When you are meeting with investors, that initial impression, everything is about a promise. And so if you say, hey, I'm going to follow up in 2 days on this, I'm going to send you this, the way that you build that relationship is being able to deliver on all the things that you said that you're going to within the right timeline, because then they know that you're somebody that they can rely on and they can trust. That's why I think tasks and being organized and having a system to be able to stay on top of that is so important, because that shows these investors that they can trust you. It's pretty easy to be able to use our task features and be able to assign them to other people on your team. Now, I want to jump into sequences. So ideally, we would reach out to investors once and they would respond back to us and give us funding. That is not always the way it happens. If it happens always like that for you, please send me your templates. You are brilliant. But for the rest of us, we like to be able to use sequences. Now, I'm in a partnerships role, so I reach out to accelerators, incubators, VCs. I need to make sure that it's personalized, but again, it needs to be scalable. And I know myself, I am not going to remember to send that second email 2 days from now. It's too much for me to keep on top of. But what I can do is I can make sure that I can send sequences. So let's say if I want to reach out to Carlos, I have to do a little bit of permissions here, so I am not spamming him. But I'm able to drop in it's not going to let me in here. But
it's because of the opt-in. But yeah, I can show it from the other one.
But I'm able to drop in a sequence where I'm able to say, okay, this is kind of my first email, and then I can set I can easily set what is my next thing. So do I want that next email to come up in 2 days, in 3 days? And then maybe what I've done is that I'll send this email. Then 1 day later, I'll send a second email. And if they haven't responded, I want it to show up as a task, or I want to be notified to be able to say, hey, I reached out to Karen. Karen didn't respond. Why don't you follow up with her some other way? So I can have that task go to me. What also happens with this, so that way it doesn't become spammy, is that let's say I send this to Karen and she responds or she books a meeting, it will automatically stop the sequence. So that way, she's not getting extra emails that she doesn't need. You can also do this from within our integrations here and be able to drop in some sequences. Now, when you drop in a sequence, you're also able to edit it. So let's say I'm sharing that same 70%, but that 30% of, hey, Karen, I'm reaching out to you because I saw X investment and I was really excited. I think you'd be interested in me because of X, X, and X. I am able to make sure that it is tailored to her. So that way I have some really specific outreach. Now, go ahead, Magdalene.
I was just going to say, for anyone in here thinking like sequence might be too much automation or too little, sequences are truly game changing in terms of the amount of time you're able to save. And as Kelsey is talking about using these for investors, that I think it's a really good point she's making about how you can really customize these while using these to speed up outreach. When I was selling for HubSpot, I would use sequences in a lot of my prospecting. It's a really great way to be able to do an individualized and personalized outreach, but at scale. And my personal preference is to do one, like your first email, really highly customized, and then you can use the rest of the sequences just to do something as simple as saying like, hey, did you catch my email? Hey, just checking in. Wanted to see if you caught this, resurfacing that. That way you can get a really, really personalized outreach on the first one. You can literally add a custom email or change this, change that first template, and then have the rest of the emails going out, just kind of resurfacing it to that person's email inbox over the course of a week, 2 weeks, a month, 3 months, whatever cadence feels comfortable for you for your prospecting or your personal outreach.
Perfect. And it's also really important to be data-driven in all of our decisions. When you are reaching out to investors, you may only have one shot at it. So you want to be getting the real-time update to find out, is this working or not? And what part of it isn't working? So that way you know how to course correct before you reach out to 5 more investors with a template that's not going anywhere. So you can see the reporting for sequences. It's the same for templates. You're able to see how many people have I actually enrolled in this particular sequence, how many have opened them, how many have clicked. So let's say I'm seeing that I've enrolled a lot, but it's a very low open rate, then I know that there's a problem either with my title of my email or those first couple sentences that you can see in the preview. Something about that isn't engaging enough for them to click, for them to open it. Okay, fix those two things. Now, if I see that I have a high open rate, but a really low click-through rate, then I know that the content of my email isn't engaging. So I have to fix the content of my email. And if I have like a high click rate, but a really low reply rate, then is the thing that I'm asking them to click on the right thing? So I know as an entrepreneur, I felt like it was hard to be able to get the data insights that I needed to drive my business. I felt like I needed a person to do that. I had all these systems because I'd signed up for every single freebie out there, but then none of them talked to each other. I didn't have any real insights. And it was just kind of like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing if it sticked. So I would recommend use some of these tools where you can get quick insights to make sure that you are able to iterate, that you are able to change, you're able to stay current. Now, another tool that I want to show you that is part of your efficiency metrics, but also your insights, is the documents tool. So when you attach a document within HubSpot, you are able to see, one, did they open it? But also you can click in and see how much time did each one of these people spend on it, and where did they spend the most of their time? So let's say you're sending over your pitch deck. How valuable is it to you to know that they have opened your pitch deck and they spent 3 minutes on the page about your proposed budget? That is great insight that you can actually action on, and you can see across your across the people you sent it out to, who's actually opened it, how much time have they spent on it, so you can prioritize who you're going to reach out to. Now, getting to Scott's question, we're going to show you a deal pipeline. So there's different ways that you can set this up. When you set this up for your investors, you might have different stages. So it might be like initial outreach, investor meeting, sending follow-up documentation, in the due diligence. It's really easy to be able to just select what are the pipeline stages you want, be able to drag them into the order you want, and be able to set like what is the percentage chance that it's going to go on to the next. So this is a way that you're able to do this for your investors. So that's where you can start now, but you're able to make secondary pipelines for when you get into your sales process. So it's great to be able to start on a software that you're able to scale with. And the chances are that you're not going to just be going for fundraising one time. This is going to be a continuous motion for you. That way you can have two separate pipelines, one for your customers and the second for your investors. And you can make sure anybody on your team and anybody that you're working with knows if this is an investor you're reaching out to. When I move it from stage to stage, it's as easy as a drag and drop. And I'm able to update any of the information, say, what is it that most stood out to them about my presentation? What do I want to focus on? Or when I move it to the next stage, you're able to set up automation. Like if we went into the due diligence process, it's going to automatically notify my co-founder or my CFO to be able to share out further information. And then I wanted to jump into chatting about our next section of how do you stand out to your investors. It's not just about making it really easy for them and making you look professional, although those things are really important, but how can you use these tools to stand out from the crowd? We know everything is virtual for the most part right now, and you might only have one shot to be able to make an impression. One of the tools that I really enjoy are being able to drop in videos. You might not be able to give your pitch in person, but you're able to drop in a video, be able to do something personalized. Even people that don't want to follow your links or click through your emails, people are really are really curious when they see that you have a video on, and it also humanizes you, it personalizes you. We know when people are investing, it's not just in you having a good product. They want to know who you are as a founder. Some of the things that I have seen that I think are cool, you can always drop the same video in, but your investor outreach should really be personalized. And I've seen people where they're maybe holding up a sign in the beginning on a little whiteboard that says like, "Hey, Karen." And if I was Karen, even if I'm like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm interested in this," I'm totally going to click on the video that says, "Hey, Karen," and find out what you have to say. Uh, so it's really easy for you to be able to just drop in. So I can hit insert video, and this is personally linked to my Vidyard. So I can select one of the videos that that I have recorded. And I'm also able to go into Vidyard and see who has watched these videos. You're able to see who's opened your emails, who's clicked on your documents, who's watched your videos. All of this information is going to make your outreach more tailored, more professionalized, and it's going to help you prioritize your time for who is really most interested in you. All right. Is there, Magdalene, I know that you are pretty passionate about using video. Is there anything that you want to add for color there before we jump on to reporting?
Yeah, absolutely. I can say that video was actually fairly game changing for our internal organization at HubSpot. We use it in in many different ways. One is the pretty traditional way of using it in our prospecting, but to be able to reach out to target accounts or reach out to a customer even, and not just share, hey, this is why I think we should be getting in touch via email, but especially maybe for customers, be able to say like, hey, I wanted to show you a quick 2-minute highlight of how to get more leverage out of a tool you're already using, or wanted to show you a new product I think would be incredibly relevant. The other piece that's really nice for that I think gets overlooked is using it to do post-call follow-up. So maybe you've had a meeting, maybe there were a couple of team members that weren't able to be on that meeting, or some things that you just want to recap and highlight. Being able to film a quick video and say like, hey, I just wanted to recap our meeting today, give some highlights there via video, and then have that saved. That's really huge. And then from the chat, I just wanted to call out, I think this is a good question. Christopher was asking about kind of the difference and the capabilities of HubSpot as it pertains to full automation. Great question. Our sequences tool is meant to automate your inbox, so meant to automate your one-to-one outreach. In addition to that, we also have full marketing automation capability. It starts lightly in our marketing starter tools, but you really have access to it in our marketing pro. And by that, I mean, what we can really do is we can fully automate your entire funnel. So by that, what I mean is like you could have a lead come in, that lead fills out a form or live chats into your website. Automatically, the HubSpot system can determine based on criteria you've set what email you want to send to that lead, based on if they're opening that email, not opening that email, registering for a webinar, signing up for an event, clicking on certain pages. We can send them down branch tiers. So we can either tag them as a high priority, high value lead in your system, put them in some type of nurture cadence where if they're unresponsive, we can keep dripping out email. We can invite them to different things. We can put them in a deal pipeline. There's quite a lot we can do with automation as it pertains to contacts, companies, deals, tickets, things like that. So the overarching question is, yes, we are big on automation. I personally am very bullish on it. And if anyone wants to look more into our automation stuff, I would definitely recommend letting us know. We have quite a lot of resources on that too. And then, okay, perfect. Kelsey, I'll turn it back to you and I will continue to man the questions in the chat. And thank you, by the way, for everyone putting questions in here. These are great.
Thank you, Magdalene. And now we're going to kind of wrap up this portion with talking about your reporting. Again, I said, like, as an entrepreneur, it's hard to have accurate reports, but when you're working within one system where your marketing is tied to your service, is tied to your sales, it gives you really actionable insights. And what you want to be able to do is to be able to provide quick, easy reporting capabilities to be able to share where your progress is at and be able to, one, make yourself attractive to possible investors, but also be able to update any investors that you already have. So this is an example of a dashboard within HubSpot. So many of these reports, we have a full reporting library where it's pre-populated. I'll show you a little bit what that looks like, but you're able to arrange it into a dashboard that is as easy as dragging and dropping these reports in here for you to be able to get a one picture view of your business or where you're at with your fundraising. your investors, they want to see your deal forecast. They want to be able to see, where are you actually sourcing these deals from? How are you actually working your go-to-market strategy? And then of these deals, where are they at in the pipeline? This is going to help for you to predict your revenue. And then there's a whole host of other things of being able to see what are the dollar amounts, productivity, etc. But to jump into that, if you look into our reports library, any of the things that you are storing as data in here, you're able to store as reports. So if I just wanted to click into what are the pre-populated reports around deals, I can see how close are we of our deals created to goal. Maybe you are blowing your goal out of the water. Absolutely show your investor that. This looks professional. It looks nice. Being able to show where they are at by stage, amount closed by different reps, how much time is being spent in each deal stage, so you can see what your conversion pathway is. All of these are pre-populated, so all you have to do is be able to click in, and it's going to show with your data. What you're additionally able to do once you have your reports up and running is, from your reports, you're able to actually add on for it to email directly to your investor, either when you decide to email it or on a regular cadence. So let's say you're working with an accelerator or an incubator, or you have a mentor or a coach, and you want them to be able to see where you're at. You can always add them as an admin into your HubSpot account. So that way they're able to kind of dig in and see what are your processes like, so you can get the most actionable insights around how you're working and what's going to be most effective for you. Now, to kind of bring it to the end of the reporting piece, these are some examples of some different ways that you can track your metrics to be able to show one, the things that are important to you, but that you can really customize within HubSpot. There's going to be certain vanity metrics that are helpful for you. Maybe you don't have revenue yet, but maybe you want to show that you've already had X number of meetings, you've done like X number of sessions, you have, X number of customers that you've already engaged with. This is a great way to be able to showcase some of this. And Magdalene, I know that you had some thoughts around this piece. Is there anything that you want to add to KPI trackers?
Yeah, I think this just goes back to what I was referencing before, is that the power of HubSpot is that you can really use us to track everything you're doing as an overall business. So the reason I had Kelsey show this reporting is I really like that we are able to customize, as she mentioned, KPIs that aren't necessarily tied to revenue or metrics or specific numbers, but that still help prove that we're doing the type of work that will help us to achieve success in our role. So what my team, even on my sales team, we always used a combination of reporting that tracked activity-based metrics, things like our number of calls completed, things like our number of demos completed, and we used reporting that tracked actual true sales metrics, how many deals we're closing, what our close one ratio looks like, things like that. So just know that when you're looking at HubSpot and when you're looking at the types of reports we can build, really the world is your oyster here. You can use us to report on anything that is going to be impactful to your business and to be able to track these trends and hopefully get ahead of things instead of having to be reactive to potential issues that might arise.
Absolutely. Thank you for adding some additional context here. Now, before we jump into the Q&A, I want to show you a little bit about the program that Searchfunder has negotiated for you to be able to give you some special resources. So as part of HubSpot for Entrepreneurs, first of all, I'm going to drop this into the chat. We have some amazing resources that are free and available to you, whether or not you use HubSpot or not. Some of these things, I know when I was working on my business, it just takes time to build templates. It takes time to build your business plan, your pitch deck, etc. Just your email marketing templates. Get a head start, save yourself some time, and check out this site with some of your free resources. I apologize, the URL is hideous, but it will still work. And then once you come on as a customer at any level, it doesn't just stop there with being able to give you some really cool software, but we also want to be able to help you through that journey. We have a startups dashboard. There's a whole host of resources here, but the part that I get most excited about are the product resources, because when I was working on my business, at some point, it's like midnight, you're in front of your laptop, and I got an MBA, but I don't remember on what page of what textbook that marketing information was. I have no idea. But I need to be able to find some quick insights to be able to fix the problem I have now in as little time as possible. So what we've done is we have 16,000 startups that work with us. And we have taken what are the biggest questions that they have and distilled them down into some resources. So let's say you need help getting found online. You're able to click in here, and these are the resources to help teach you the strategy of how to get found online. Click into what's helpful, don't click into what's not helpful, and here's the corresponding tools in HubSpot to help you actually action on that strategy. In addition, we also have another, I think it's 20 partners now that have offers that are exclusively for any entrepreneur that is on our HubSpot for Entrepreneurs program. So these are a host of credits, whether it is Stripe, Brex, $5,000 in AWS credits, Airtable, Vidyard. There are amazing things in here available to you. Let's say ballpark another 70K in credits, in addition to our program. So as part of the Entrepreneurs program with Searchfunder, you are eligible for 30% off in year one and 15% off ongoing. You never have to renegotiate that discount. You'll get it as long as you're with HubSpot. And on average, that's about $7,000 off, although it can be up to 15. Now, a couple of resources about how to get there. First of all, if you want to apply to that program, you go to HubSpot.com/entrepreneurs and you select Searchfunder from the drop-down list. And that is just going to make sure that you are eligible for the program. It does not commit you to buy. It just makes sure that you have all the information that you need and that your account is tagged as eligible. The second thing that you can do that I'm going to also drop into the chat is our demo page. A lot of you don't want to sit through an hour-long demo that's recorded on the phone. A lot of us are working asynchronously. Maybe you know that you need a CRM, but you're not quite sure what it looks like. You can jump in for a quick 2-minute video on the CRM, 5 minutes on the sales, click into whatever it is that's most helpful for you now. But then also we have weekly office hours, either with myself, with Magdalene, or one of our colleagues, where you can sign up and say, hey, this is my business case. I'm trying to get found online, let's say. This is what I'm trying right now. What tools do I need? Do I need to pay for them right now? Do I need to be on the free? How do I sign up? And what does that strategy look like? You're able to chat with one of us once a week. It's on Wednesdays, and be able to kind of take that next step. And then lastly, that I'm going to drop into the chat before we go into the Q&A, all of our pricing is publicly available. So you can click in here and see what are all the tools that are available and free, because we shared a lot of different tools today. You're able to see prices for marketing, for sales. This does not include what your discount percentage is. So you might just have to do the math there in your head, but you can also ask in our office hours with our sales reps. We are more than happy to help you. Whew. So that is a whole lot of information that I hope is helpful for you in your search, in working with Searchfunder to get your investors lined up. And now I am going to pivot into some more questions. I know Magdalene has been answering a lot in the chat. Feel free to chat in, or I don't know, Karen, if they're able to unmute themselves, they're more than welcome to ask that way as well.
Yes, folks are welcome to unmute themselves and ask directly. Since a lot of folks can be bashful, I'm just going to keep both you and Magdalene on the spotlight. So that means that you will not be recorded if you unmute, but it's really lovely to see a face to actually go with a voice. So if you can, also show your video too. And I actually had a question about the phone call. So a lot of our searchers are, calling businesses, trying to see if there's going to be interest. Do they have to manually put in that they made that phone call, or is there some sort of a tie that could be made if they, for instance, had a Google phone number to do it?
Karen, that's a great question. you're actually able to call right from HubSpot. So when you entered into my CRM, I will already have your phone number in here. I can make the call right from here, and it will record that I made the call. And then also it can actually record the contents of that call to be able to follow up and take a look at later.
It's hugely helpful. I will say, coming out of a sales role, being able to, like, one of the main benefits, it's a really simple benefit, but being able to do all your work from one screen, as Kelsey mentioned earlier, a lot of time is wasted simply on the admin stuff and just on like flipping back and forth between tabs, taking a call on your Cisco Jabber on your phone, and then trying to get your Evernotes logged and trying to do everything back. If you click to call, it'll call, and then it'll bring up a notes phase for you. So you can literally be on the call. You can be taking notes in real time. If you wanted to, you can use a snippet to organize your call notes, and then you can have the recording of that call right there on the contact record for you. And then also you can integrate whatever number you want with our calling system, and you can have multiples. So I, for example, always had my desk phone line at HubSpot and my cell phone. We're just an overlay. So we're not going to take over your VoIP system, but what we are going to do is overlay for the purpose of tracking and recording. Calling, we do give you 15 minutes at the free level. I think of it as more kind of like a free trial baked in so that you can see what our calling functionality looks like. So yes, if you are in our free CRM, you can try our calling system, integrate your phone number, and then we upgrade the minutes as you upgrade packages with us. And I dropped in earlier, I'll drop it in again. We do have an awesome product catalog that goes through all of our like minutia, kind of like what's in what subscription level details. I'll drop that in for everyone. And you can also always ask our team where these subscription levels start and end as well, and we can advise you there. Okay, automation functionality. Kelsey, do you mind if I jump in and take this one?
Sure, go for it.
Cool. Chris is asking, do the affirmation to automation features work with all packages? So I think of like, we love automation at HubSpot. In our free CRM, we've brought a lot of functionality down, but essentially is kind of a safe way to think about it. Lightweight automation starts at our starter level. So things like doing a kickback email when someone fills out a form with us, starting to look at like templatizing, things like that. But when you truly want to start to automate, so using our workflow tool or using sequences, that starts at our professional levels across the board. So sales professional, service professional, and marketing professional, that's truly where the brunt of our automation functionality lives. And when you think about HubSpot subscription levels, it's always additive with us. So whenever you layer on a tool, layer on a hub, it's always going to be adding functionality. And I just want to call this out again because we've gotten a few questions from it in the chat. We do not gate access to our platform on a paid user basis. So as you get started with us, you can upload up to 1 million contacts for free into our CRM system, and you can add as many team members and users as you want. Any feature with us that's on a user-based functionality, so like a per user per month pricing, that's just going to add functionality to that user. It's never going to restrict a user from being able to log into our system, look at a deal, look at a contact, look at a company, write a note, assign a task, the basic functionality of being able to be active in the system. So that's kind of how we price, but you can always add your team. Team members are free. We don't gate it on a like paid basis.
All right, I see a question about how to sign up. Absolutely. So I am dropping this link into the chat. All you have to do, pretty easy here. This will also help you get signed up for the free CRM, is to apply through HubSpot.com/entrepreneurs and select Searchfunder as your partner. And that's going to give you access to the discounts and so many free tools to help fund your search.
Well, thank you again. I really appreciate it. I am going to copy the chat and make sure we put that with the notes as well for this session, and really appreciate your taking the time to do this today. Thank you, Kelsey. Thank you, Magdalene.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Searchfunder. We had a great time.